Major design rights infringement cases. Today, we will look at major design rights infringement cases. 1.
Ordinary Observer Standard Case.
This case, involving two nail buffers, took place in the United States. The plaintiff was the design rights holder of the registered design for the nail buffer, and the defendant was the manufacturer of the allegedly infringing design. The plaintiff filed a lawsuit claiming that the defendant's design infringed upon his design rights. The plaintiff's registered design is in the form of a hollow tube with a square cross-section. It features buffering pads on three sides, leaving one side without a pad. In contrast, the defendant's alleged infringing design also has a hollow, square-shaped cross-section, but features buffering pads on all four sides. Meanwhile, prior design 1 is in the form of a hollow tube with an equilateral triangle cross-section and has buffering pads on all three sides. Prior design 2, on the other hand, is a solid rectangular parallel piped with buffering pads on every surface. Based on this, when comparing the plaintiff's registered design with the defendant's alleged infringing design, an ordinary observer seeking to purchase a nail buffer, while aware of prior design 1 and prior design 2,
would easily recognize the difference between the two.
The registered design has buffering pads on only 3 of its 4 sides, whereas the alleged infringing design has pads on all 4 sides. In other words, a consumer accustomed to purchasing a 3-sided buffer would not mistake it for a 4-sided buffer. Therefore, the two designs are deemed dissimilar due to their clear and substantial differences. In the United States, 2 principal theories were applied when assessing design similarities to determine infringement of design right. The point of novelty test is a way to determine whether the alleged infringing design incorporates all of the novel features that give the registered design its distinctiveness. The ordinary observer test is a way that assesses whether an ordinary observer, familiar with the product and aware of prior designs, would be deceived or confused by the alleged infringing design. This case is an example of the application of the ordinary observer test. Since this case, design rights infringement cases in the U.S. have been assessed under the ordinary observer test rather than the point of novelty test. In principle, when determining design similarities, if a product embodying the design is likely to be confused with another product when observed by ordinary consumers in the course of trade or distribution, the designs are regarded as similar. This case also suggests that the standards for determining design similarity may vary from country to country, depending on each nation's perspective on design, as well as its history, culture, and economic background. 2.
Design Right Validity Case.
The plaintiff filed a claim seeking an injunction and damages from the defendant, alleging that the registered design for a smartphone accessory and the defendant's alleged infringing design were similar. Accordingly, the defendant argued that the two designs were not similar, and further claimed that the registered design could easily have been created by combining prior design 1 and prior design 2, rendering the registration invalid. When comparing the registered design with the alleged infringing design, the two share the following similarities. 1. Both consist of a rectangular plate, a cylindrical fixing part protruding from the plate, and a ring that passes through the fixing part. 2. The plate has a square shape with rounded corners, is smaller than the width of the smartphone, and its cross-section is convex at the center. 3. The fixing part of the ring is located at the exact center of the plate. There is a space between the ring and the upper surface of the plate, and the lower portion of the ring protrudes beneath the plate. And 4. The lower portion of the ring includes a straight segment. Because of these shared features, the two designs convey a similar overall aesthetic impression. The alleged infringing design differs from the registered design only in that multiple jewels are set in a row along the bottom of the ring. However, this is considered a mere commercial variation and does not produce a substantial difference in aesthetic impression. Therefore, the two designs are deemed similar. When comparing the registered design with prior design 1, the following similarities can be observed. 1. Both consist of a plate that attaches to the back of a smartphone, a ring through which a finger can be inserted, and a fixing part connecting the plate and the ring. And 2. The plate has a rectangular shape with rounded corners, is smaller than the width of the smartphone, and the ring is positioned at its center. However, the registered design differs from prior design 1 in several respects. 1. The center part of the plate in the registered design is convex and protrudes outward, whereas the corresponding part in prior design 1 is flat. 2. In the registered design, the upper and lower surfaces of the ring body are flat, giving it an overall square cross-section, while in prior design 1, The upper and lower surfaces of the ring body are circular. 3. The registered design includes a straight segment at the bottom of the ring, whereas prior design 1 has no such straight segment. In particular, the straight segment at the bottom of the ring occupies a significant portion of the overall design and is easily noticeable upon observation. Therefore, the presence of this straight segment gives the registered design a distinct aesthetic value from prior design 1. Accordingly, it cannot be regarded as merely a commercial or functional modification that lacks independent aesthetic significance. Furthermore, when comparing the registered design with prior design 2, although prior design 2 also relates to mobile phone accessories and belongs to the same general product category, it differs in application. Unlike the defendant's alleged infringing design or prior design 1, which attached to the back of a smartphone, prior design 2 is used by inserting a string into a groove formed at the end of the device to connect it. Thus, there appears to be little motivation to combine prior design 2 with prior design 1. Therefore, the registered design could not have been easily created by combining prior designs 1 and 2. The key issues in this case were the similarity of the designs and the validity of the design rights. With respect to the similarity between the registered design and the alleged infringing design, the court held that the common features between the two designs exerted a more dominant influence than their differences, and therefore determined that the two designs were similar. In addition, the court rejected the defendant's argument that the design right was invalid, finding that the registered design differed significantly from prior design 1 and that it would not have been easy to combine prior design 1 with prior design 2. This case serves as an important example illustrating both the general reasoning applied in determining design similarity and the process of assessing the validity of design rights. 3.
Primarily observed parts case.
Company S is the design right holder of a registered design for shoes. Company S filed a lawsuit against Company W, claiming that W had infringed on its design rights. In response, Company W argued that Company S's registered design was invalid, asserting that it was similar to a prior shoe designed by Crocs, which had been disclosed before the application was filed. The U.S. District Court accepted Company W's argument, recognizing the similarity between the two designs. Company S appealed, and the U.S. Federal Court of Appeals reached a different conclusion, holding that Company S's registered design and the prior design were not similar. The District Court had determined similarity by considering only the portions of the shoe visible during ordinary use, due to the nature of footwear, and excluded the design of the insole from its comparison. On that basis, it ruled that the registered design and the prior design were similar. However, the Federal Court of Appeals disagreed. According to the ordinary observer test, the similarity of designs must be judged by comparing the design as a whole, including the insole design. The appellate court held that the district court erred in excluding the insole portion from its comparison on the grounds that it was covered by the user's foot. The court emphasized that the insole is a part that can be seen by an observer during ordinary use, for instance, when the shoes are placed on a shelf or in a shoe cabinet, or when worn in activities such as swimming. Therefore, from the standpoint of an ordinary observer, the insole portion must also be included when comparing the two designs as a whole. Because the insole portions of the registered design and the challenged design differ significantly, the appellate court concluded that the two designs should be regarded as dissimilar. This case highlights the importance of observing the design as a whole when determining design similarities. While the degree of importance between the parts that are visible and those that are less visible during ordinary use may vary, it is not appropriate to exclude certain portions merely because they are not readily visible. Even components that are not easily seen can influence the determination of design similarities, depending on the product's characteristics and the perspective of the ordinary consumer. 4.
Basic form treatment case.
Company D is the design right holder who applied for and registered a design for an interdental toothbrush, which is the registered design in this case, in Europe in 2003. Company S is the design rights holder who applied for and registered a design, prior design, for an interdental toothbrush in Japan in 1998. Company S was planning to expand its business to Europe and learned about the design registered by Company D during its market research. Company S filed a petition for invalidation, arguing that Company D's registered design for an interdental toothbrush was similar to Company S's prior design and therefore should be declared invalid. The tribunal found that although both the registered design and the prior design share a common overall L-shaped configuration, That feature represents a basic or functional form familiar in the field of interdental toothbrushes. Accordingly, the tribunal regarded this shared aspect as low in importance when assessing design similarity. As a result, the two designs were not considered similar. 1. The registered design has a body portion, excluding the wire part, that is formed as a single piece, whereas in the prior design, the body is divided into multiple sections. 2. The handle of the registered design is rounded, while that of the prior design includes a flat area for gripping. 3. The wire of the registered design is also set at a more upright angle compared to the prior design. These clear differences led the tribunal to conclude that the two designs are not similar. When determining design similarity, even if the two designs appear similar as a whole, such resemblance often results from the basic or functional form of the product. A product's basic form cannot be monopolized by any one party in the field. It remains a freely usable design element. Accordingly, this case is significant in emphasizing that forms essential to a product's function or representing a basic structure should be given lower weight when assessing design similarity.
5. Effective form variation case.
Company A, the plaintiff, is the design right holder of the registered design, which relates to a packaging box for securing and packaging mobile phones and their accessories. Company A claimed that its registered design was similar to the alleged infringing design and filed a lawsuit against Company B, the defendant, seeking an injunction against design rights infringement and compensation for damages. After losing in both trial and appellate courts, Company A appealed to the Supreme Court. In this case, the central issue was the design similarity between two mobile phone packaging boxes. These boxes change form depending on use, when both the inner and outer covers are closed, when only the inner cover is closed, and when both the inner and outer covers are open. The key issue was which of these states constituted the essential part of the design. The court determined that the state in which only the inner cover was closed represented the essential part, and it gave greater weight to the commonalities in that state than the differences observed in the other states. Both the registered design and the alleged infringing design concern mobile phone packaging boxes that separates the accessory storage space from the mobile phone storage space, and that include an inner cover covering only the accessory storage space, as well as an outer cover that encloses the entire body. Accordingly, depending on use, the form naturally changes between three states: both covers closed, only the inner cover closed, and both covers open. When comparing the registered design and the alleged infringing design, focusing on the perspective and plan views that best reveal their overall shape and configuration, both designs appear similar when both covers are closed. Also, the shape and appearance when both covers are closed are common in this product category, and thus not highly significant. Furthermore, when both the inner and outer covers are open, several differences can be observed between the registered design and the alleged infringing design. The latter lacks partitions within the accessory compartment, allows the inner cover to be detached from the main body, and includes a rectangular opening in the inner cover that exposes only the mobile phone while covering the rest of the body. However, these are variations commonly adopted and do not create any new aesthetic value and, therefore, cannot be afforded significant weight. Finally, the shape and appearance of the design when only the inner cover is closed are novel and not found in prior designs for mobile phone packaging boxes. Accordingly, this configuration should be given substantial weight in overall similarity assessment between the registered design and alleged infringing design. Since the dominant features of the registered design are most clearly expressed in the state where only the inner cover is closed, and this state is similar to that of the alleged infringing design. Therefore, the registered design and the alleged infringing design should be regarded as similar in their overall appearance. This case highlights that when products, by their nature or function, undergo changes in form during use, the comparison should be made between corresponding states before and after such form variation. The essential part of the design must be identified, and similarity should be assessed comprehensively based on those findings.